Hi, my name is Vincent, and today I'm going to show you how to take the particle emitters you create in the Slayer 2 particle editor and put them in your XNA 4.0 game. So first we're going to just start from scratch. Feel free to work off an existing project, but if you're starting from scratch, go ahead and create a new one. Make sure it's a Windows game. I'm going to just save in default directory for now, but feel free to put it wherever you want and name it whatever you want. And create your Windows game. So here we have our regular empty XNA game. If you run it, you should still get a blue, cornflower blue screen. Alright, so next what we're going to do is we're going to add references for the DLLs needed. So on GitHub, it should already have the DLLs for the file system and particle system, but feel free to recompile the particle system if you made any changes and grab the DLL for that. So I already have them on my computer, so I'm just going to add them. But if you don't already have them, just go ahead and click Browse, find wherever they are, and make sure that you have them selected. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So here's my particle and file system. All right. So if you did it correctly, they should show up over here on the right or left or wherever you put that. So next we're going to import them. So if you go to the top, add another using. And we're going to go particle underscore system and file underscore system. So these will go ahead and add references to the DLLs so we can access them. So now we're going to go ahead and create a particle system. This is what's going to manage all the emitters that we create throughout our game. So it's going to be of type particle system. I'm just going to name system. And then we're going to go down here to initialize, and we're going to just go ahead and go equals new particle system. Then we're going to go over here to load content. This is the important part. So we're going to go system.load content. Now what this will do is we have to pass in the content manager and the graphics device manager. The reason why is the particle system is going to store these, and whenever we pass an emitter, it'll use those to be able to load textures or any other graphical information that we need. So let's go ahead and add those. And then this one should be graphics. Okay, so now we've loaded content. Now we're going to go over to update. We're going to just add in a little line of code. So system.update, and we'll pass game time. So what this will do is all the emitters that it keeps track of, it'll update them each frame. And then we're going to go ahead here and add the draw function. So we only need to pass the sprite batch. The system will handle drawing each of the emitters based off of their drawing settings. We don't need to worry about sprite batch stuff at all. Alright, so now we have our particle system set up to take emitters. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create something called a dynamic particle emitter. What this is it's essentially a particle emitter, but it's wrapped around so that way you can edit just about every setting about it. Everything you saw in the editor, you could do through code as well. I wouldn't recommend it, but by all means, go for it. So we're going to just create a dynamic particle emitter right over here inside of load content. Equals new dynamic particle emitter. All right, and then we're going to tell the system, hey system, add this particle emitter. So this uses a factory pattern. If you don't know what that is, feel free to look it up. But so we create our dynamic particle emitter, and we tell the system, hey, create this and handle it, and it'll do its thing. Now by default, it will use the variables you see in the editor when you open it up, which is just a fire. I can't guarantee where its position will be, but we can change that. So since we still have a reference to this emitter, we can say emitter dot origin, which is where it creates everything from, equals new vector 2. And then we can tell it, hey, use the width divided by 2 and the height divided by 2 as your position. So it should end up in the center of our screen. Okay, so just to review, we create our particle system variable, we initialize it to new, then we load content, passing the content manager and the graphics device manager. we put an update and we put a draw line of code, and then from there on we can just add emitters and it'll handle it. So if we run this, we will get an error. Reason being, we don't have a texture. So by default, it comes with a texture. I already have it over here on the side. It will come with the GitHub code, don't worry. It's called whitecircle.png. So let me just go ahead and add that to the content. So you can see it over here, I've just added it. So now if we run this, we'll see the fire that we see in the editor. Okay, that's great, but we want to see our particle emitters, the ones we just created. So while we can mess around with this in real time, and you can feel free to experiment with that by just taking your dynamic emitter and looking at all the different properties that you can mess with, we're going to go ahead and load the one we created. So particle emitters will use a struct type called emitter config. So if you go emitter config, we're just going to create one real quick. So this right here is essentially storing everything for the emitter, all in one struct. Now that's what the editor saves to. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go and use the file system that we added, and we're going to create a file, a texture loader. Sorry, not a texture loader. We're going to use the file system static functions. Alright, so we have read from XML, which is what we need. And we're going to cast it to emitter config. So that's the type of object we're going to load it into. This is using serialization, and it's going to serialize into that object. So now we're going to go ref config, so we're going to pass a reference to the config, and that's it. So this will load, oh, my bad. We also need the file path. So grab the file path from wherever your emitter is. So I'm just going to grab mine real quick. Just give me a second. I'm going to navigate through my stuff. So I'm going to throw mine inside of my content folder and add it to my content, and then I'm going to just tell it, hey, don't compile it, just copy it if newer. So now if I just go pulsar.emitter, it'll know to look for it inside of the content, or so we hope. And then we're going to go ahead and just tell the emitter, hey emitter, set config, and then we're just going to pass it this configuration. So now what this will do is we're going to create our emitter and tell the system, hey, keep track of this emitter. We moved it to the center, and then we're going to load the configuration from the file that we created in the editor, and then we're going to tell the emitter, hey, use this configuration, and it should use whatever particle emitter configuration you had. Yeah, I thought so. Okay, so that was my bad. Let me fix that. Okay, so make sure you just have the right file path, and this is my example emitter. I mean, it's nothing fancy, but yours could be whatever you want. So this is the process that you need to go through to take the emitter you create in the editor and put it into your XNA game. Now, if you plan to not use the file system, then go ahead and create your own way of reading the file. It's fairly simple, as long as you can load it into an emitter config variable right here. As long as you can load it into that and tell the emitter to set the configuration, it will work. Also, keep in mind that if you use a texture that wasn't the default one, make sure that you have your texture in your project and that you properly link the file path inside of the file. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this in Notepad++ to show you. So right over here at the top, it says default. But if it didn't say default, it would have a file path to wherever the texture was stored. Now you could change this. So if I change this, for example, and go content-square.png, and then if I add a square.png, which I have one, to my content pipeline, right here. So if we tell it to do that, it should now hopefully use a square. I guess not. Just a side note, if it doesn't find the texture you're looking for, it will default. This is a good example. So make sure that you get those file paths correct, and you'll be able to see everything you create in the editor in your game. Alright, well that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have fun.